Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Trading Triangle. It's back again for another week of the weekly kind of trading, what's going ahead. Obviously, very busy week ahead. Kay, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Sean. What's up, buddy? Happy Sunday to everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy Sunday. It's been a bit of a funny one, actually. I've had kind of the weekend off and have been alone for most of it. So this is kind of the first social interaction I've had for the whole weekend. So excuse me if I'm a bit rusty, but it's been lovely to spend time on my own working on the business and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, fantastic. Obviously, we're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts. This is not financial advice. We just love to do it as a hobby. And yeah, if you take value from that, then that's absolutely fantastic, of course. Obviously, as always, if you put your ticker requests in the chat below, we'll get to them towards the end. We've got a couple of our own charts and obviously the market overview, etc., to go through. But yeah, if you put your ticker requests in the comments down below, then Kay will write them all down because I always forget them. So yeah, Kay, you write them down?
Absolutely. Don't worry about it.
Let's jump into the slideshow.
Well, before we kick it off, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and thanks to Wolf for allowing us to host. And yeah, let's get this rolling.
Absolutely perfect. I always miss that bit. Subscribe. Right, sweet. Cool. Last week, red week. It seems, judging by what's going on here, you wouldn't think it looking at the SPY and QQQ because this was this last week?
Yeah, this was last week.
This was last week.
Pretty flat, honestly, I would say.
So it's a strange one because if you look at SPY and QQQ, obviously they've done quite well, especially on Friday, breaking up a few technical barriers, etc. But you can see on the screen, obviously, Apple down, Microsoft down 3.5%. Amazon down 2%, but then you've got the likes of Google and Meta up on the other side. But also you've got Tesla down as well, almost 3%. But yeah, kind of a bit of a flat week, would you say?
Yeah, it was definitely a flat week. Tesla was down because the numbers, I guess, weren't that impressive.
Yeah,
I mean, it was impressive from quarter over quarter, increase, but again, they missed the number. So yeah,
they missed the number, which is never good. And we've got the event this Thursday, I believe, as well, isn't it? So
10-10, yes.
That'll be interesting to see what happens there. Moving on, we're still just in the greed, almost extreme greed, as you can see down on the right. 74 is the number to look at there. Where were we a week ago? 72. So not really much in the way of it changing. And you can see that reflected on the left side of the screen. So you've got SPY 0.3, QQQ pretty much unchanged, and obviously IWM unchanged, and Bitcoin has got a little bit of a kick today, which is nice. I have updated it slightly. But the key events, do you want to touch on those, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the CPI and the PPI numbers coming up this week as well. The big one, Tesla event, which I guess is going to be watched by a lot of people. And then we have the FOMC meeting minutes. And generally, so the 9, 10, and 11 is probably the back half of the week is all pretty tight. And, honestly, we might start seeing some moves because next week also kind of kicks off the real earnings seasons with bank coming up with the earnings, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So a very jam-packed week, and we will see volatility. You can see the VIX has shot up to, again, 19. And it was like generally, if it's like between 13 to 14, 15, it's like kind of a mild environment. But now with 19, you can start to see the volatility pick up.
Yeah, good stuff. Especially good for kind of traders who can trade the volatility, that's for sure. I don't personally trade the volatility, but I always like to see where the market's moving, etc., for that particular way. So yeah, the first couple of days, maybe a bit of choppy action perhaps, and obviously Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like you said, it really kicks off. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Earnings. We have started a new season this week. So we've got banks on Friday. That's normally a good indication of earnings seasons, getting underway. I think the week after, you've got likes of Netflix, etc. So it's really kicking off then. Anything that tickles your fancy on this one? Nothing for me personally, but maybe you.
I mean, nothing specific. You have Pepsi, you have Delta. If you are into, I guess, marijuana, weed, you have Tilray, and then, of course, the banks.
Of course, yeah. So nothing really much to see here. Then we'll move straight on, shall we? This is the SPY. Straight off the bat, I think I'm just going to move us to something like this, just because I want you to see what's going on down here. So really nice candle on Friday. that's what they call a hammer candle. So obviously it did come all the way down here and it got pushed up throughout the day, creating a hammer. So indicating that it could potentially do quite well going forward, typically within technical readings at least. Obviously anything can happen within the market because it's very erratic at the moment. But coupled with that, we do have an RSI that is actually just sitting around 61, so nothing too dramatic, nothing too high. And the stochastics down here, which is a bit more of a RSI mixed with moving averages, that type of thing. Basically, what you're looking at is where if it comes down and then the green one comes through the pink one, that obviously indicates potential buying area. That's what some people say. I don't use it all the time, but I thought it was particularly interesting bringing it up here because you can see that's exactly what's happening now. And the green kind of really accelerating through the pink and, with the potential of possible upside coming. So something to look out for there, just for reference as well. It's down to kind of 2160. Okay, any thoughts on the SPY chart here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the volume shelf is pretty high at 569.76. We are, almost all-time highs trading at that level. And the put to call ratio, just to keep in mind, throughout the week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, put to call is pretty much, high 2.75 plus. But then it really goes up on 1010, which is 3.05, and goes up to 4.82 on Friday. So keep in mind, if your options are expiring on Friday, you might want to keep a very tight eye on how that is progressing, because there is going to be a lot of volatility, especially going into Friday with all the events unfolding on Thursday and Friday.
So the message there is just trade safe, which we always try and purvey that message every week. But perhaps this week more so than others. Okay, moving on to the QQQ. We're going through these quite quickly today, Kay. The Qs, we can see I've kind of drawn a wedge. I don't know if you have the same on your chart. And I think the kind of message here that I want to purvey is a bit of patience. Of course, we've got to get some moves this week, as we've said many times already, actually. So maybe wait for those moves and then see if it will break out of this wedge for QQQ. I'm not saying it's an opportunity to trade, of course, like I do with everything else I say. But this one perhaps is more of an indication of where the general stocks might go. So your stocks like obviously Tesla, NVIDIA, or basically tech stocks, of course. So if you see this one particularly break out to the upside, then perhaps maybe it might be an indication to go into the stock side of things rather than the actual indices side of things. And of course, likewise, if it breaks down, maybe below the 50 moving average, where's my mouse? Maybe below the 50 moving average and the trend line, if it breaks down below that, then perhaps maybe look at kind of selling some stocks. As, obviously not financial advice, but just an idea to kind of have in your head. Anything to add here, Kay?
Yeah, the 20 SMA and the biggest volume shelf is kind of, there's a confluence at that level. We do have, if you draw a Fibonacci retracement, you actually have a good support at 481. The stock has, the ETF has been able to bounce from that level for a while, for I think almost 8-9 days. Also, compared to SPY, QQQ definitely is much more bullish. So on 1010, the put to call is 1.29, and on 11th it goes to 1.67. So as you can see, QQQ is much more bullish compared to, if you look at SPY in general, because SPY is trading at all-time high, whereas QQQ is still pretty low from all-time high, which was 502.81. That was back in July. So you still have a lot of room for QQQ to run, whereas SPY is already trading at that. There's not much room to, there's not much room from the all-time highs. So also I think there's more opportunity in QQQ compared to the SNPY as of right now, or as it looks right now.
It'd be very interesting to see what we're saying this time next week, won't it? Given what we're saying today. But yeah, no, I think we'll see, won't we? What will happen? I mean, of course, if the QQQ is lagging behind the SPY, like you said, it could be a potential higher opportunity than anything like the SPY. But yeah, I think the 1010, obviously, we've got a couple of things, CPI and the Tesla event.
Yeah.
So that will definitely be a cause for movement for sure.
I mean, right now QQQ level and the all-time high is about 3%.
Yeah.
Whereas on the SPY, it's like less than 1%. Now, a 3% move on a SPY is a pretty, on an index fund is pretty big, actually. It's not that small.
No, but the Qs do move more than the SPY, so you could get that in within potentially 1 day if it's a particularly good day, of course, but definitely 2 days. Yeah, so you could definitely see that within the week. But likewise, you could also see it plummet down. You can see it on the screen. You've got a big old day here. I don't know what percentage that is, but they're big days. And even this one over the weekend, that was a big drop. I think that was 4 or 5%. So it can move like that in 1 day.
And the last thing I want to just add is, the Tesla event it's a make or break in this situation, is because you had 3 events. Tesla kind of did not deliver what folks were expecting in the delivery side, but this is the real event. After that is earnings report. So if if this doesn't deliver the wow factor, and I think a lot of analysts and investors, whether retail or institutional, they kind of understand Elon and his timeline. So if Elon says something, they're looking for when the delivery is going to happen on that vision, and I think that is key. Because this event was pushed out from 8.8, there's a lot more hanging in balance for Elon here.
You're making me excited now for 1010. So
I mean,
news or not.
I will say this: if you trade options, you will have a very high volatility on and you know what? Let me tell you how much the volatility is. Give me 1 second. So for Tesla right now, if you are trading options, expiration 10-11 is 80% volatility on. So premiums are going to be off the roof, off the charts for Tesla right now.
You're going to be touching that?
Oh, actually, I'm already in a couple of trades with for Tesla. Yeah, so I'm taking advantage of the volatility.
Nice. I got stopped out of mine at the beginning of last week, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it wasn't the beginning. It was with the delivery numbers. But my stop loss was tight, and it was still in the green. So it's not the end of the world. But we'll see. Maybe that's a good thing. Who knows? Should we move on?
That's good.
So my first chart of the day is Amazon. I've gone for 2 big boys today. I've gone for Amazon and Microsoft, and I think you have as well. You've gone for Google and Nvidia. So we've gone kind of heavy hitters
the big eight today. Yeah,
this week. I think that makes sense of all the data that's coming out this week, because you start looking at smaller stocks, then the accuracy is not quite there. Anyway, what we can see in the chart here for Amazon is a bit of a make or break moment. Not as make or break as Microsoft, but obviously this week was hit a bit by the, well, I say a bit, it was hit a lot by the port strikes, which seems to have resolved themselves on Friday. So there's a little bit of optimism there for Amazon. And we've also got a bit of confluence here, which I love. I love confluence, especially within the big stocks. So we've got the volume profile here on the right around this kind of 186, 185 level. Could go as far as to say it's down to 183 as well. And you've also got the trend line and the 20 moving average as well. But what I really like is the actual price action on the Friday. We saw it with the SPY and the QQQ, but it's also evident within Amazon as well. You might say we're getting a bit of resistance around the 20 moving average, but I think that's not too important. The most important thing is we're back above this trend line, of course. So that's 3 confidence points. I like to have at least 2, and 3 is ideal. 4 is amazing. So yeah, that's basically it really for Amazon. Obviously, if we do get a bit of bad news this week, and of course break down the trend line, then the target would probably be down to 177 on the negative side. I guess what you're looking for is kind of where is it going, and I've just got 200. It's kind of a round number here, a bit of a psychological level, of course. So yeah, that's kind of it for Amazon. Any thoughts on Amazon around the port strikes?
The only thing that I will say that it is making lower highs, so it's kind of in a downtrend. But as your downtrend line comes in, we probably, if you're trading this, you can easily have a bounce from the downtrend line, make sure it goes to the upswing, and then wherever it starts to switch back to the downtrend again, you can sell it off, right? So that's the trade you're looking for, from my understanding.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking for a bit of a break around this area, 195.
Correct, right? Exactly. Yeah, or lower than that, because if it's going to make lower highs, then I'm assuming it probably won't hit that level.
Yeah, I suppose it would be around about here-ish, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so that's still for day trading or for short-term trading, that's a pretty good profit margin, because you're cycling this fast.
Yeah, and also for the long term as well. I mean, not the worst place to add, especially with given the news as well on Friday. Obviously, we do have a lot of volatility coming up this week, so it's your kind of choice if you want to put in money there.
Exactly.
But I mean, typically you would go down to the 200 million range, wouldn't you? In which case you probably would have added around here.
That would be ideal. And then honestly, they report earnings on 10/25, so about 3 weeks from now. So I wouldn't be surprised if it stays in the same momentum or sideways trading until earnings are starting to come up.
Yeah, we will see. But I like the optimism around Amazon, especially in the last couple of days. Obviously, before we move on to the next stock, make sure you put your tickers in the comments. We do have a few already pre-stream. Let me try and find the banner. There it is. So obviously stick them in the comments. We've had a few already. We've had SOFI, which thank you very much. And we'll get to that at some point, Luke, no problem. So yeah, keep sticking them in the comments. Let me just get that off the screen. And we'll move on to the next chart, which is, as I mentioned, Microsoft. Microsoft is a bit more confluence around here. And a bit more of a make or break situation. I posted this yesterday on X, and we got a bit of traction in terms of, if it goes down, then it'll probably go really far down. Just judging by the amount of support here. Blimey, I can't get my words out. I shouldn't have spent all weekend on my own, should I? Anyway, so confluence 1, 2, 3, 50 moving average, 200 moving average, and the trend line as well. What I don't really like is the price action we saw on Friday. Friday was a red day when everything else was green. I don't really like that because it's not showing the consistency, with stock to market, especially as like Amazon and Google, etc. They all went up. So not quite consistent there, but it's still within the parameters, and I'm still happy to, potentially start a position here. I'm not saying I am or I have. But this is where I would look to potentially see a position. This is when my eyes kind of start switching on. I'm going to wrap this up by saying I would like it to get above the 426 level here, which is the dotted line running across the screen. Got a bit of resistance here, and obviously a little bit of support recently as well. So I like recent price action there. But getting above that would be absolutely key. So that could be a safer entry, in my opinion. Would you agree there, Kay? Any thoughts on Microsoft?
Yeah, I would agree, but I also do believe that you have to be a little bit extra careful if you are trading Microsoft for a short term, considering it is right sitting at the 200-day moving average, with earnings coming up again on 10/24, so what, 3 weeks from now, very key. And if you know what Microsoft does, one of the biggest bet right now for Microsoft is the whole AI thing in the software enterprise software side. Now, from a AI standpoint, yes, have NVIDIA, on the infrastructure side, and they are getting into the software. But from an enterprise side, we really want to see is how are enterprise really spending money on Microsoft, especially with their forget the Copilot. From my limited experience on being in the field, I haven't really seen a lot of companies taking advantage of it yet. Now, I'm not talking about the large companies, but the next level medium sized companies haven't really taken advantage of Copilot yet as much as you would like to think. So we would want to see more data from Microsoft on that. So honestly, if you are looking for long term, I would wait and see how this earnings plays out. And this is also similar to the previous chart of Amazon, is also making lower highs. So I will be careful on that as well.
So you're saying wait for earnings?
Yeah, Microsoft, I see what happened was when the whole AI chat began, right? Microsoft really took the lead because they were investing in OpenAI and they just ran with it. And the stock has just been on an absolute tear quarter over quarter. Now, I'm not expecting the business to break, but where is the real next event where Microsoft can make newer highs? It's in the enterprise AI space. And you really want to see is how are companies actually going to adopt AI into their workflows, because if they're a Microsoft shop. Yes, there is Azure, the cloud news is an old news, right? Companies moving from on-prem to cloud, it's an old news. You have Azure, you have AWS, you have Google Cloud. That's all great. Next is AI. And that's where I want to wait. So I have not actually added any Microsoft yet on my portfolio. I'm just waiting for it to play out. if the 200-day moving average breaks, I wouldn't be surprised the stock, sees, much lower levels from there on.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the first level about 404. So
Yeah,
that's, 3 or 4%, something like that.
exactly.
If that breaks, then you're looking at kind of below
Then
400 easily. So,
there's a free fall from there.
Yeah.
I'm not that bearish on Microsoft, but at least I want to see their guidance on how enterprises are adopting it. And that's where the real money is going to come in for Microsoft.
That's interesting. I really appreciate your take there. And I think other people did too. You can see that Sebastian said, Kay, excellent. And so we love those kind of comments. I'm sure Kay does too.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks, Sebastian. And I also got a couple of the tickers that I'm writing down. So, yep.
Yeah, we had a few come in the last, so keep them coming. We're happy to keep them on. I've got a comment from Needle Mover. Your opinion on Neo would be useful. We'll get to that later on, maybe bring up the chart. So do stick around till we get after Kay's charts, basically. You can find me on X, obviously at Shaun Trades. I've got something very special coming in December, a little bit of a hint there. So you will find updates and little hints and kind of, I don't really know what to, like teasers, I suppose, coming up to kind of December. I've got a very special launch happening there, so I'm excited to share that with you guys. And obviously YouTube as well, you can get me over there, subscribe. I do go live every now and then, especially through earnings seasons. I'll be streaming earnings reports, etc., and obviously giving my comments throughout the streams, thoughts around earnings, etc. And we've got the Substack as well, which I don't really touch, so just don't bother with that. We'll move on. Okay, what's your first chart? Google.
Google, awesome. So before I actually talk about the chart, I want to kind of give a little bit primer here. So Shaun is a breakout trader. I'm an options trader. I like, specifically in options trading, I like selling options, which is my primary strategy. And of course, I have other strategies as well. But that's where I primarily, spend my time on. So the ways, the charts that Shaun shows, they're looking for breakouts. And the charts mostly I like are ones where we are range bound. Because if you are going to sell options, you want stocks to be range bound. If there's too much volatility, there's too much up and down, those options contract, they just don't provide the same value. So with that out of the way, these two charts are prime examples of sideways trading for options trading. First one is Google. Honestly, you have these two levels, 157 going to 169. That is the range. It's a pretty big range. I would say if you are doing a weekly trading, you can actually take the 164 and 169, and you can kind of do a weekly trading on that one, selling options. And if you are going longer, for example, if you're going 30 days, 60 days, then you can even start to look at more at a 157 to 169. So by that, I mean selling cash secured puts, if it gets assigned, selling covered calls, all at the money so that you are able to cycle out of this much faster. Any thoughts on this one? Because there's not much. I just wanted to bring out the sideways trading that is happening in Google, and you can take advantage by using this ticker. Any thoughts from your side? Any breakout chances you think will happen?
Yeah, so the immediate thought on here is, I'll get my mouse out. This volume profile you've drawn, I really like the price action in the last 4 days. It seems to have kind of almost not broken out, but kind of pushed above this level of kind of whatever that is, 164-ish, and then kind of come back down and then retested it and then pushed up again. So it's kind of almost a bit of a breakout on the volume profile. It's not something I look for, but it looks very positive. Now, what I would like to see is a break above this most recent high. And then I think we easily see whatever this level is, which is 174.50. And then obviously, beyond that, we're looking at kind of all-time highs of kind of 191. But yeah, this kind of price action I really like as a beginning. Now, of course, you could get into this, but it's still not the ideal entry. I would probably wait for that little break of 169. So I'm saying lots of numbers, but this line here, I want to see a break of this line here, basically that most recent high, and then I'm interested. I've got Google for a long-term portfolio. I think probably everyone has, which I'm not a buyer here for the long term. But if I was to trade it, perhaps then that is the option I would take. The only thing I would have is obviously with all the news coming up this week, it could be interesting to trade that. So just be careful if you are going to trade it. My second point was the RSI. I don't hate it. It's actually around 62. I think that's pretty good for an RSI, especially within the move it's made recently. plenty to go, definitely. Sorry, I kind of waffled on there.
That's great. And the earnings are coming up on 10/24. So as you can see, all these big tech companies are pretty much piled up around the same time frame for the earnings. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see any major move until it gets closer to the earnings and something, comes up.
Exactly. It's funny because I'm in Spain for the week, the biggest week of earnings.
Okay.
Like Google, Amazon, Apple, all of that, all in 1 week, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not going to be here, so maybe that's for the better. I'll be here on a Sunday though, don't you worry. Awesome. Right, is that it for Google?
Yes. So I think we're good with Google. If there are any questions, throw it down in the chat and we can answer those. And then the next one is NVIDIA. Again, very range bound stock, as you can see. We are starting to see the trend has not reversed yet, but as you can see that it had couple of times over here, it started to break through. Right now, this is also making lower highs, but you're starting to see some candles actually trying to break through this downtrend line. And I like it. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to be successful, but again, this also presents a good opportunity for you to trade options or run a wheel strategy, or if you use that, because the earning is not happening until 11/27. And I believe that during that earning time, you will get an opportunity for a very big move, considering Blackwell, the chip Blackwell, is in production and is in demand now. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 2 quarters that we see some new all-time highs for NVIDIA, considering it has pretty much sideways traded since the split.
I think Jensen came out and said he's actually surprised by the amount of interest in Blackwell. So that's always a good sign. I mean, CEOs can always say that kind of thing. We've had it with Palantir in the past, but I kind of take his word for it, I guess. Do you?
No, I mean, I don't have a very good. I've not been attached to Palantir as much as you are, so I cannot really comment. I think Jensen has not been that extravagant like Elon Musk. So if Elon Musk says something 6 months, people joke about it now. So we'll see. I think Nvidia they have been a little more conservative over the years, but we'll see.
Yeah, in terms of the chart as well, if you don't mind me talking about the chart, I really like this for actually a breakout trade. Would you believe it? So you've got this line coming through the chart, obviously from 140 up here, all the way to kind of where we are now. Lots of people have kind of drawn this line in different areas. So people have drawn it from here, like kind of through and below this area down here, in which case this would have been a retest, which I actually have on my chart. So this would have been a retest of the moving averages and the trend line. So that would have been a good entry point, and you can kind of see that playing out already. It's not to say that this line is not correct. Obviously, we all have a different lines, just how we perceive things. One thing I do wish was kind of here was the volume. We just haven't really seen that much volume, which is surprising for these kind of semiconductor stocks. You see it with, Micron, what's it called, ARM holdings, and lots of volume coming in for those generally, SMCI as well, as you mentioned. So I would have liked to see a bit more volume coming in for NVIDIA. So maybe we might see that tomorrow. That's something I would look out for tomorrow. And in which case we get a bit of volume and to the upside, then I really like this to kind of make all-time highs again.
Yeah.
Sure. That is all-time highs, isn't it? 140, is that right?
140 is all-time high, yeah. That was post-split, pre-split, $1,400 plus.
Exactly. And then beyond that, who knows? We know NVIDIA can move.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking out for.
Yeah, and I really think that if you are doing weekly, wheel strategy, ideal stock to get in. So basically between 116 to 124 is your range where you can cycle this stock as much as you want. And if you set up yourself as a breakout trader, then of course you have the opportunity also lining up. Now, is it going to happen next week? We don't know. Nobody can predict that, but these are the indications.
Exciting stuff for NVIDIA, and with NVIDIA, obviously, it brings up all the other semiconductor stocks as well.
Exactly.
So I think I've got a couple lined up. So obviously, that's a different story. Let me just get the chart up, and we'll start going through the audience requests. If you haven't already, stuck your ticker in the comments. We have quite a few to go through, but obviously, we're always happy to go for more. Obviously, stick them in the comments, and just while I get up the pictures here for that, I'm pressing so many buttons right now. Here we go. And there we go. Here's the chart. This is actually Tesla, but we'll move on to whatever's first. What's first, K?
First is very, VERI.
VERI, brought up by Sebastian pre-stream. We also take pre-stream requests. This one I've not even heard of. I mean, you mentioned it as Veritone in the comments, Sebastian, but I like this price action obviously here, especially for a breakout trade. But I don't even know what they do. What is
So let me read it out for you. So Veritone Inc. together with its subsidiaries engages in the provision of AI computing solution and services in the US, UK, France, Australia, Israel, and India. It develops and operates AI-aware platform and AI operating system that uses machine learning algos or AI models designed to mimic human cognitive function, such as perception, prediction, problem solving, and optimization.
So AI, basically.
It's basically a software for AI.
He's told me to zoom out. So. It's got a long way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. I like it though. On the weekly as well, if you're above the 2 moving averages and get past all this volume, I mean, it's quite obvious that the volume's there because obviously it's been trading within this range for quite some time now. What's the actual volume bars like? Here, down the bottom of the screen there. Obviously, lots of volume here. This must have been related to some sort of news in March. Volume's a bit stale now. But yeah, I mean, so we've got a big volume here on Monday, the 12th of August. That week, if we zoom in a touch. Yeah, so let's move on the charts. Sebastian also says 15% short interest, which at the moment I'm kind of experiencing with NEO, the 12% I think it is now, or was recently. So really, this volume push to get up here, big resistance. If we can get through that resistance, you know, thereabouts 414, maybe look for 420, then off to the races for sure. And you could draw all sorts of Fibonacci's with this. I mean, play around with it on your own charts. I would probably have to look at this for about a good 20 minutes on my own just to kind of get used to the chart and the levels and the trend lines that go way back, which I am actually going to do because I don't hate this name. I don't know about UK. Bit different for you. It's not really range bound, this one, is it? So.
No, also, I mean, these are your typical day trading kind of stocks, right? These are not long-term stocks that you want to hold. Options trading, if you shouldn't be selling options on stocks like these. That's the first rule. You should only sell options on stocks that you want to own, because if it gets assigned to you, you don't mind owning it. But these are your perfect trading stocks, which you just looking for to get profit off. I mean, it from a financial standpoint, I mean, I don't expect that you would be investing in this stock because it definitely has a lot of sell ratings. This is more like a momentum stock. Again, be careful, it's a penny stock as well. Finance wise, they're not doing that great, but again, you don't care about finance, you care about the price movement so that you can make some money on this.
I mean, even that short move there to 485, I should really put my glasses on in a minute, especially in this audience request area. I need to put on my glasses to see. That's only 16%. Hang on. Let me turn into Clark Kent for a second. There we go. Now I can see. So 16.86%, and you can see that can happen within probably a few days, potentially. So it's definitely one for the watch list, and I really appreciate you bringing this one up, Sebastian. What is the volume indicator on the side? Show enough says it's just volume profile. So what you see on the screen. So let's take this for example. This obviously there's a lot of trading within this area, so there's lots of volume that's coming in. So that's where the most volume is, for example. But if you break it down, in between this level here of 307, probably not the best stock to do this on, but 307 and 290, that's where the biggest volume has been. And you can see that's not necessarily what the case is on the chart, which means it's potentially an area of interest. Would you agree with that, Kay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where basically buyers are stepping in, and that's where your support level starts to form in.
Areas of interest, and that's where we like to combine that with various moving averages, trend lines, etc., support, resistance, and obviously that brings you that word confluence, which we love so much on this particular on the stream, don't we? Well, at least I do. I don't know. You don't say it too much, but I say it all the time.
No, because I think for the day trading, for swing trading, you have
Yeah.
to look at confluence, right? It's important.
Lovely. We spent quite a lot of time on this one. What's next?
The next one is EVGI, but when I was looking up the ticker,
EVGO. EVGO.
I'm not getting that ticker. It's EVGIF. Is it F at the end?
No, that's EVGO. Oh,
EVGO. Okay.
I said it wrong earlier to you. That's probably what it was.
All right. EVGO. Yes, that's the one.
Well, this one's immediately annoying. You can see this wedge that I've nicely drawn, and it's kind of played around that, come back down and retested it, come back down and retested it again, and exploded it. Actually, that's a big move, that is.
That's
Sebastian,
a very big move, yeah.
If you're in this, congratulations. It's 100% almost. Okay, so this is like a charging network, I believe, top of my head. I've seen this one in the past, but you can see that volume. Look at that volume that's coming in.
Yeah, and then actually for the short interest, this is almost 25% short interest. So it's double than what you had in the previous one.
So it looks like there's no cemented news here that I've got immediately, but raised to a buy from various analysis. Thank you. Cheers. I always rely on you to finish my words. EVGO reasons. Just got to write that down so I can have a
I mean, personally for me, I think this is a perfect trading stocks, man. I mean, if you really made money, you made it, and then just move on. Because look at the gap up, crazy gap up,
and on the weekly as well. It's just, I mean, it's only just formed a 200 moving average on the weekly. It's a 200 week moving average. It's just formed it, and it's just hit it as resistance. So potentially, kind of a bit of a correction coming.
Yeah.
Even Sebastian says hot potato now, so that means throw it to the next person.
Yeah. All right. Next one. PEV. Phoenix Motors.
Similar sort of thing. This is the weekly chart, and that is a massive volume candle compared to, like, you can't even see the other volume. It's so flat at the bottom there. You can see that? Yeah, you can just about see that. Big move up this week. Really big move up this week. So from 38 cents to 107. What are you doing to us, Sebastian? Bringing up all these penny stocks. Not penny stock season. But yeah, I mean, perhaps, obviously, this big move here, I mean, depending on what the stock does and where it can come back down, a nice retracement back down to any sort of moving averages would be where I look for. I would never buy this at this current stage anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I've got to say on this one. Anything to add for PEV?
No, man. I mean, my question to Sebastian is: were you able to get in? And were you able to ride the move up over here?
It seems like he's just picking stocks that have gone up a lot.
Okay.
Great earnings.
Operated on 2.0. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up is I think you said Celsius you wanted to cover.
Celsius, yeah. David brought it up earlier. Wrong letter. I keep pressing the wrong letter. This one's been really beaten up, and I'm just going to stay away from it completely. I had a trade here which failed all right above here, but the good thing is I set a stop loss. Otherwise, it would have been a lot worse, as you can see. But that's the daily chart. Just keeps getting rejected by this first moving average. What I would like to see potentially in the moving forward is obviously to break the 20 moving average, which is the blue line, and then break the 50 quite significantly, perhaps with some volume behind it, and then come back down and retest the moving averages. That's where I'd be looking for first initial thoughts in terms of trade setup. Would you look at this one for kind of range bounding, or is it just not?
No. There is no range here. The range is going down right now. For me personally, I don't want to see getting involved in this one until I see a reversal. And this 20 SMA is a resistance level. Because you don't have a 20 SMA on that. 20 SMA is following it very closely and it's not able to break that. Just a quick update. So TechWood Partners, no, we have not covered SMCI. It will be coming up after this. So right now what I want to see is that there is a good support at 28.17, which starts to go back to April of 2023. So that time frame, so almost 2 years, 1.5+ years. So that's where a lot of volume will start to come in. So I want to see if we can get a reversal from there. If not, wait for it until the wind changes on this one. I'm not touching this.
Yeah, I mean, the fact it's broken the 200 moving average on the weekly chart is not a good sign. I've just drawn 27, so similar sort of level to you. Sebastian says a cheap stock can get cheaper. One of the best investing advice, going to my investing head, that I received from various videos on the internet was keep buying your winners, never buy your losers. I don't know if you abide by that as well, Kay, because obviously if you keep buying losers, which I have done in the past, don't get me wrong, the first couple of years I bought a fair few losers, but I never bought the winners to carry on. Stuff like Palantir, stuff like the big boys like Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, in fact. Even Nvidia is a great example. But yeah, keep buying quality companies. So I know it sounds obvious, and it probably is obvious, but when you start out, you want to make the most money, so you keep investing in the smaller stocks. I've had that with, NEO. So we'll move on.
Okay.
Swiftly.
Next up is SOFI. So for SOFI, actually, I did do an analysis on SOFI, so you can definitely go and take a look at my channel, or you can go and check a look at my last tweet from last night. SOFI is at a very interesting spot, honestly. We called out the trade in September, that the trend reversal has happened on that. And honestly, it's a good spot to do trading on this one. And I did post my couple trades on the one that I'm running. But of course, if you are doing day trading, you actually have. But still, we may still see this continuous, higher highs on SOFI if you draw that trend line up. And I think it's in a good spot, and I don't see that trend changing until we have some kind of a bad news. But I don't see that happening, at least.
Yeah, and you can almost predict that the earnings would be at least good forward looking because the company's just growing and growing.
Yeah.
However, I mean, definitely the last two, but I don't know about the last 3 quarters. It's done nothing on earnings. It's done great for guidance, really good results, improving in many sectors of the business, but the stock just hasn't moved at all.
No, it's just in that
strange.
$6 to $8 range has been trading.
Yeah.
The short interest is 1750, so pretty standard. It's like this is a typical short interest for SOFI.
And with this as well, technically as well, it's pretty nice. So this wedge goes way back to August of last year, and the bottom of the wedge goes to May of last year. We did try, like you mentioned as well, just beginning there, did try and poke out of it in September. Didn't quite manage to full break, but this week, just gone, finished really nicely above it, and with a really powerful 7% day on Friday. So good things from SOFI. I'm in the trade personally as well, so I've been looking closely at your videos for your perspectives. So thank you very much for the coverage you have on SOFI. I know you've got quite a good SOFI following on your channel as well, haven't you? So
yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I tend to cover. I mean, SOFI. I mean, I think I have been covering SOFI for maybe 3+ years.
Yeah, definitely.
More than that. I think I've been covering SOFI since I started my channel. It's really been a long. That's one of my staple stocks I've traded for a long time.
SOFI for you, NEO for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
businesses.
Next is PDD. I think it says Pindodo, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's Pindodo. Man, Chinese stocks, I would say it's amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if this bull run continues for
a
while.
On Tuesday, they've got I can't remember the actual title of the meeting, but it's basically a meeting related to obviously the interest rate hikes. So cuts, sorry. So that'll be interesting to see what they say there. Whether they allude to give guidance on how much more they're going to hike, not hike. I keep saying hike. How much more they're going to cut and help the economy, etc. So that'll be interesting to see the reaction there. Pinduoduo, I don't really look at the stock at all. I still won't because it's not really within the range or just even within my interest to trade at all. I prefer Barbara and NEO from China, and that's it really. I don't really touch anything else, which you might be quite surprised with. But yeah, that's the only ones I touch. But if we just bring up the HSI just quickly, So I'll do that here. I'll do it here. I'll do it here. Is that an interesting point? So that's the daily chart. You can see. I mean, look at that. Okay, the last
It's a
20
takeoff,
weeks is
basically.
insane
Insane
for
takeoff.
that. So the weekly chart, you can see 200 moving average. It seems to be just kind of blasting straight through it. But I would like to see another week basically close above that, and then that's the confirmation of a real good trend change. That makes sense. So what could possibly happen, and what has happened in the past, and I'm not saying it's likely, it may not be likely, is a rejection off of the 200 moving average. Yes, it's extended quite highly above it, but it can still be a rejection if this week was to finish below the 200 moving average, and then I would really ask questions. So really pay attention to Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday here. It might be Monday night there. I'm not too sure the exact times, but look it up on Twitter. It's all over Twitter if you follow Chinese stocks, etc. So watch out for that meeting, because that will be a catalyst for everything China. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's got a bit of PDD really. Nothing to really say on the chart.
Yeah, I think for PDD, it's if you have already been in the stock, it's great. Enjoy the bull run. If you're trading it, definitely take some profit off. That's your typical, and let the winners run, I would
Exactly.
say. Next up is VST.
VST, and don't worry, Praveen, we will have time for Dollar Tree. I think that's Dollar Tree, DLTR.
Dollar Tree, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. VST, Vistra Corp. Can you look up what they do?
Yes, I'm doing that.
I'll talk to the chart quickly. Doing very well in the last 6 months.
So they operate an integrated retail, electricity, and power generation company. The company operates through 6 segments: retail, Texas, East, West, Sunset, and asset closure. So it's a power producer, energy trader.
Wow. It's
Yeah,
done really well this year.
and they have a buy rating from Wall Street and a buy rating from other analysts as well.
Could potentially draw a fib extension from here.
Let me see. Oh, this is I like. I mean, price action is amazing, but it's a little extended, and your RSI is on 85.
Yeah, even RSI on the weekly is 75.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. I mean, that's the thing. You wouldn't even know where to short it because there's been no previous price action. So it's another one to kind of stay away from. But again, like you said, related to PDD, if you're in the stock, it takes no shame in taking any profits. There's no shame in taking profits. I'm not saying take the whole position. If you're enjoying it, ride the wave. But, treat someone. Go out, take someone for a coffee or something.
Buy iPhone 16.
Yeah, buy an iPhone 16. I'd sell a few more shares for that, but yeah. No, I like it, but I also come with those warnings. I think you might.
Yeah. The problem is, like, when stocks are this extended, I mean, I don't know, where would you want to get in at this point?
Exactly.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Next up is highly anticipated SMCI. Let's see.
So I know lots of news has come out around SMCI recently, hasn't it? Like court cases, is that right?
Unless they updated the news, I did not track this last week. So let me see if there's anything. Nothing added. Are they still having that court case on them, right? If anybody knows, just throw it in the comments if you guys are following that.
They had the split as well on Monday.
Yes.
Or Tuesday, whatever it was. So they're now 10 for 1, so it's 41. So maybe psychologically people might think it's cheap, even though it's not.
Yeah. If you remember, I think last week I forgot of which. I think I was covering AMD or something like that, and I did mention on SMCI that I would not touch the stock until we see some kind of a trend reversal. And so right now, if you just go by the technical indicators, the 20 SMA has remained like a resistance.
Drop me on the daily.
Yeah, on the daily. So for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last 7 trading days, we have not been able to break the 20 SMA. So that is definitely a resistance point. And there is volume shelf there. But until we see some kind of a, I guess, catalyst. And generally, if you have noticed, whenever stocks they announce a split, it runs up. And then after the post split, you generally see this kind of a drag or sideways movement for a while. And you can say NVIDIA is the classic example, which had a recent example of
But
semiconductor.
is that with stocks that are generally going in the right direction, well, upwards direction, or is that just when stocks go up in the upwards direction and the downwards direction? So, for example, what I'm saying is now SMCI is generally going down, has been for a few months.
Yeah.
But obviously, Nvidia, for example, has been going up. So the split news might actually turn that one down, but maybe turn this one up potentially.
But the problem is that I think, if I'm not wrong, there was a lawsuit that was recently filed.
Just a bit of a psychological thing.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to find, did I read that wrong or?
We do also have lovely RSI divergence.
Oh, yes. So on September 26, Supermicro tumbles after Justice Department starts probe. So it's not like a lawsuit, but they are probing. So again, these kind of news does add a little bit wrinkle, right, on the pricing. If it's already on a downtrend, and I mean, you like it or not, news plays a big role in these things. Um, Stock price movements, it's also based on sentiment, right? It's based on news.
DOJ looking at the books.
Mm-hmm.
But from a technical point of view, obviously, without the news, I mean, I really like the RSI divergence on 3 separate occasions as well. So that's something to potentially look at for the bulls if you're out there. Obviously, price action going downwards, but the interest in volume going upwards, or strength in volume, shall I say, going upwards. So that's something.
And last thing, earning is at the end of the month, 10:30. So I guess we'll hear more about what's going on that.
Definitely.
Okay, next up, Snow. That stock.
No, yes, I was looking at this yesterday.
This stock I have been in. So I actually, funny thing, on the last earnings, I did post Snow, and actually it's playing out very well on my chart. Unfortunately, I don't know if you have but there are basically 4 levels that I have drawn, and what I'll do is I will post that updated Snow chart on my Twitter, and you can definitely take a look at it. We have had the 107.13 has acted as a support line since, I would say, start of September. So it's been more than a month. The stock has been sideways trading. There is a gap at 125. So that gap down needs to be filled at some point in time. The next resistance level is 147. The next one is 169. And then we come to that really big gap down at 194, going all the way to 211. Again, that's pretty far. I don't expect Snow to move at those levels anytime soon. But for short term, I think having a good support at 107.13, 107, 108, I think that kind of starts to give a flooring. Again, what I said about Microsoft is also true for Snowflake. All SaaS companies, the whole thing about AI, how are companies adopting AI in their workflow? That's the key here.
Yeah.
And I think companies are still in that phase of figuring it out. Yeah, I mean, writing an email using AI bot. Okay. How is that? How are you going to generate revenue on that?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they say.
Exactly. So
so I've actually had this zone drawn out since this area here, where I kind of rejected off against the 200 moving average. And I did a bit of digging all the way back, and this was kind of the zone that I like. And it got to this point here in late June, and I thought, and then it bounced off. And a couple of days later, I thought, maybe I've got my zones wrong. Bugger, I didn't get back in. I didn't get in at all. And it's kind of just dribbled down nicely into my zone. So I'm now thinking about, I haven't got a position, but I'm now thinking of maybe starting a small position. And like you said, we've got lots of support around this area, so maybe my zone should actually be down here. But I'll leave my zone as it is for now. Yeah. I don't know what this line is for. That's something completely different, 33% up. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely potential. And like you say, it's kind of fundamental based as well. So.
And I will also share this quickly on the Snow part. I'm not sure who asked for it. So I had initiated a selling a put on Snow at 140, and it's 108 right now. The good news is I keep rolling that contract, so I keep collecting premium. But as you can see, once I had that gap down, I just have not been able to. So either I can, close it out at a loss, or I can keep, rolling it out. So I decide to roll it out. So I'm kind of stuck in that trade. And that's been, I guess, more than 3 months now. So
Wow.
the trades do go against you. And this is one classic example.
There you go. You heard it here first from Kay.
I think next is yours, Neo.
Yeah, we'll rattle off a couple more. I've got Neo, Barber, and Dollar Tree on my list, and then that'll be it because I've got to go get some dinner at some point. So, Neo, I think a lot of people kind of, I guess, follow me on X related to Neo, which is fair enough. I do talk about it quite a bit. I've got a bit of a laser show going on here. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, this bull flag, and we can see we successfully blasted straight through that. Again, related to the HSI news and obviously the Chinese economy, etc., which is always going to help these types of stocks. Because if they're going to pump more money into the economy, that means they can buy more cars, essentially. Put it plain and simply. But I haven't actually looked at this chart all weekend. You would be surprised with that, but I actually haven't. So what I can see here is the 200, the 20-moving average, which is the blue line, really nicely coming through the 200, which is not that hard. That's pretty easy within a space of a couple of weeks. But what I really want to see is the golden cross, which is the 50-moving average traveling through the 200. And I think if we at least stay in this level, which we know that won't happen for Neo, it'll either go up or down, quite volatility like in the next few days, because that's just how it happens. But if we can stay within this rough range, then that will happen, because obviously that's kind of the general trajectory of the 50-moving average. In which case, that is a generic term of saying the trend has changed. But obviously, we need to see at least another month's worth of price action for that to kind of really take place. I'm going to stop rambling and just get to the point. What I really want to see is this break of this really long-term trend line, which we have had a hard rejection off of on Monday. Let me just get rid of a few colors so it's a little bit easier to see. So let's just get rid of all of, excuse me, pressing the wrong buttons on my keyboard. That'll do. So you can see a big, strong rejection off of this trend line, which goes all the way back to, well, basically years, 2022, I think. So big rejection off of that, but what I want to see is a really good aggressive push through it, and then, at least 950s in sight for me. Bit of a bold prediction, because obviously given the move it's had already, but these stocks, once they get going, this, okay, once they get going, they get going. Prices no matter, it's just momentum and hype and short sellers, etc., short squeezes and all that, and the name gets out and the volume increases. I'm not getting excited, as you can tell, but it is possible. We've got to keep a level head, stick to the mission. Neo is, in my eyes, a great company with a great vision, with a great product, with a great leadership team. I know we had a bit of issue around the CFO, but we've changed that issue and we moved on. Anyway, I need to stop talking about Neo. I'm a bit too excited there.
No, I think this is great, man. I mean, I don't have anything else to add on Neo. I'm just a audience in this. I'm just sitting and watching you talk about Neo. I have leap calls on Neo, so I'm happy. I'm printing, but I hope it breaks and goes above $10, at some point in time.
Exactly. As Needle Mover said, big volume recently, and you can see that's not actually decreasing too much. Obviously, it will naturally, but if we can hold, above this sort of level, then we're doing pretty well. Anyway,
next is Baba.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, Baba and then Dollar Tree.
Baba's in the same sort of ballpark. So obviously, really extended move, but it's creating a lot of gaps. As you can see on the screen, we've got gaps galore. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. I'm not saying it's going to come back down and retest them anytime soon, but we'll see. It's one of those stocks where if you're in it, which I know a friend actually for me is in it. I don't know what's happened to my camera. Oh, it's just stopped. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah. Keep going.
Okay, well, I might have to sort that out at some point. Let me just switch to camera in a second. But yeah, basically it's extended, and I'm kind of urging him to take a little bit of profit at least. But that's not for me to make that decision. All right, you talk while I start on my camera.
Yeah, no. I think from if you are already in a trade, repeating the same thing. Take profits off, keep the runners on. I think that the Chinese stock market might continue in this trend for a while. Again, there are both points of view here. Some are like the rally is going to be short lived, and then some are like, this is going to at least provide a flooring for the Chinese stock. I personally don't invest much in Chinese stocks. I do have a couple tickers here and there, but Baba has been in this poor downtrend for a very, very long time. I actually had a friend who was a very big bull on Baba. My main concern is I generally also look at news, and there's not enough news, or there's always more negative news about China, at least in the US.
Yeah,
It's so I tend to stay away from the Chinese stocks.
I think that's fair enough. I think a lot of people do. I figured out the camera. It just seems to have just given up. So it wasn't my phone. So I'm just going to move to this one.
Okay. So last one is Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. Fantastic.
DLTR.
Not one I trade at all, actually. What about you?
No.
No. Okay. Well, this will be fun. So this was brought up by Praveen. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly.
Praveen, yeah.
We have just about had time for that. So I see a couple of gaps. So there's potential there and a little bit of a higher low if this holds. But what I would really like to see, just from a technical point of view, I mean, Dollar Tree, I'm guessing it's like a pound store or dollar store.
Yeah, it's basically a dollar store, but nothing is available in dollar anymore. It's because of inflation.
We have that here actually. We've got pound stores like
pounds. Pound.
But everything inside is like £3 or £4.
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe this is kind of a dying breed. But technically, I mean, we really should be going lower, really, in my opinion. But if we can get above that 50 moving average, then sure. But maybe there's a bit of upside. But I'm guessing the news around this company is not great, judging by its recent. Wow, look at that on the weekly.
I think the funny part about it is that Wall Street has a buy rating on this Dollar Tree.
I mean, it is really sold off since, let's have a look at mid 2022.
And I think the reason is because of the earnings. Even though they missed earnings, but let's see. So
is it future guidance earnings? I must be.
Could be. So they are saying that this is in the top 30 stocks by UBS, which is poised for potential moves after the Fed expected rate cut, which we got. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Not something I personally will trade, but definitely looks interesting.
But the chart I've got here is messy, but I'm just trying to see where the most volume is from where we are now. So we're sitting at 70.90. You can see the big volume spike down here at 55. So maybe that's good value. You have to look. I think from that point of view, you have to look at fundamentals like price to sales, price to earnings, forward price to earnings as well. So that's probably where Wall Street's getting a buy signal from. Perhaps the fundamentals are lining up just on a really undervalued side of things. So that's interesting to look at from a fundamental point of view. But for me personally, logically, pound stores are not. Surely they're not a thing. I guess in poor economies, maybe they are because people go to them because they're not doing so well monetarily. But I don't know. What are your thoughts from a logical point of view? Do you think they're going to be around longer?
So I mean, I just invest in Amazon.
And that says it all, doesn't it?
So the point is that I don't want to expose myself to too much of retail. Like I don't invest in Walmart, I don't invest in Target, I don't invest in others. I just invest in one, which is a market leader. Walmart is a market leader. Target is also a market leader. But the problem is if I invest in multiple, I'm opening myself. I'm not an expert in retail. So that's not where I don't like to research much about retail, and it swings a lot based on interest rates, based on seasonality. There's a lot of component here, so I don't consider myself as an expert. I'm not an expert in most of these, but I'm just saying it doesn't excite me that much. It's a store. You go and buy stuff.
Yeah, and I think
not my type of stuff.
Awesome.
But again, Walmart is, a lot of people buy those stocks specifically. If you're dividend investors, you have a very different approach to investing. Again, from a trading standpoint, I wouldn't touch that stock because it's in a downtrend. I would wait for a floor. Same thing with SMCI. I would wait for a trend reversal before I can make a trade. For trading, investing, no, not for me.
Not for you. No. Fair enough. Unfortunately, we don't have time for CLF Techno Partners. Maybe we'll get that on to next week. If you come back next week and comment nice and early, we can cover that. But I do unfortunately have to go off because I can smell dinner and I'm getting hungry.
Okay, yeah, you're getting hungry.
Yeah,
So
I'm not in any rush, but I kind of am.
Yeah.
But it's been wonderful once again. We've covered quite a lot today, especially with the week ahead. CPI, PPI, Tesla event, and obviously Fed meeting minutes as well. So that's going to be quite volatile. So especially in the later part of the week, it's going to get very, very messy. So do trade safe out there, everyone. We do once again appreciate all of your tickers and all of the support that you give to us. And obviously we're here every week, 1 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. UK. If you are in the UK, which I don't see many people related to stock market in the UK, but they are out there. They're part of us.
They're hiding there. They're hiding.
They're hiding. Just a big thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. And then the last plug is just to give us a subscribe on YouTube because we're almost at 300 subscribers. And we don't really talk about it too much. We're not really on there that much either, to be fair. But it's a nice indication of who's kind of watching on a regular basis. Kate, I'm going to hand over to you. Obviously, close us out.
I think trade safe. Enjoy the 10/10 event. If you are a Tesla bull, if you're a Tesla bear, enjoy that as well. Hopefully, we'll get a full self-driving car, and if not, we'll still have some volatility we can take advantage of with Tesla. So trade safe, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Okay, everyone.